Good morning, and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate. Beck and Beck provide complete service for your real estate transaction and bring you guests who provide interesting information about products and services available in our community. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk KGVO. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Our first weekend in October shows. Welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. An old friend of the show. It's been quite a while since Sam's on, something like, 15, 16 months. But we're glad to have him back. Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. Sam, welcome back to the show.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, Denny. It has been a hot minute here, but it's been a busy time since we last talked.
Yes, sir. I'm sure there's lots to talk about. We got to get the reacquainted in since it's been so long since you've been here. What is the Missoula Housing Authority? I guess that's a good place to start. And how does it benefit the community?
Well, the Missoula Housing Authority, Denny, is a very important part of our community. It was started in the late 70s when our community leaders first noticed that we should be preserving the affordability of our housing in Missoula. And over the years, it's grown and grown to the point where we are now one of Missoula's largest landlords. So we serve folks at 60% or less of area median income. So it's a very important set of demographics that we address and help folks find housing in.
Your background, what led you to the MHA and how long you been with them?
Well, Denny, I moved to Montana in the late 90s, and I was working for a market rate developer. And so I learned a lot about Missoula in a short period of time and produced a lot of housing for entry-level Missoulians, for teachers, firemen, and it gave me a real good feeling inside to be producing homes that were so badly needed in Missoula then as they are now.
Wow. Besides everything, I suppose that's one answer, your duties as the executive director of the Missoula Housing Authority.
Well, my role as the executive director is no different than many businesses, and that is for us to provide the maximum amount of benefit to our community here. The Housing Authority needs to be run as a business, and one of the things I do is project, and we look at the different types of partnerships and the different types of projects that not only benefit the company, but benefit our neighbors the most. In other words, we are not a for-profit company that is worried about meeting shareholders' needs. We're simply trying to get the most bang for our buck for the community and be able to house our neighbors.
Well, as you alluded to, the Missoula Housing Authority owns and manages a pretty large number of properties. What is the acquisition process, Sam, and how have you grown that over the years?
Yes. Well, first off, we are one of the larger landlords in town with 1,200 units of our own housing. And then through our voucher efforts, we reach another several thousand Missoulians. And our acquisition process has changed greatly through the years. You know, we talk about the history and the beginnings of the Housing Authority. That back in the day was largely single-family units or duplexes. Again, trying to preserve homes that were coming up for sale in some neighborhoods where values were starting to increase. But over that time, we've really changed our acquisition process. And by that, I mean we look to maximize the number of units that we can provide for the least amount of money. We are now looking at doing some larger projects. You may be familiar with our two latest projects, Trinity and Villaggio. We're very proud of them. And between those two projects, just this year, and filling those two projects, we're able to house just under 1,000 of our Missoula neighbors.
Are those two in the Broadway-Mullen area? Are those ones
yes. Trinity is a split-site project, and it is on the corner of Broadway and Mullen Road.
Right, okay.
That is Maple Street Flats and the Blue Heron Project portion of that project. And then the split site of that will be over by Burn Street Bistro on Cooley. Yeah. And that is also part of the Trinity project. There's 70 affordable homes on that site.
Great. What are some of the challenges defining and acquiring stable, safe affordable homes for people?
I'd say, Denny, in Missoula, we're a little bit unique in that, first off, we're hemmed in by geography. We're not like Bozeman or Billings where we can simply build out in one direction 20 miles. We're hemmed in by our beautiful mountains here and our river valleys. So we have the challenge of having a limited amount of land available. And because of that, you see extremely high land prices. And so we're very good at building and providing safe, stable homes. The key is affordable. And at no time in history have we seen larger challenges to that. So looking forward, the identification of land that is somewhat affordable, usually that means for us bringing in an investor partner who has the land available, and again, we go in and try and provide the greatest number of homes for our neighbors.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO, and my guest Sam Oliver, Executive Director with the Missoula Housing Authority. And Sam, since we are on a real estate show sponsored by Diane and Becky of Windermere, what is your relationship with them, or with realtors in general? Where might your paths cross?
In my current role, Executive Director at the Housing Authority, Denny, we have limited interaction with realtors in a traditional sense, right? Because oftentimes, as I said, our land comes in the form of a partnership or an investor that has that land and wants to partner with us. However, Diane Beck and the Beck family has a long-lasting name in Missoula. Like I said, I've been here since the late 90s, and a very well-known organization. And I just say that Missoula is lucky because we have a broad group of realtors here in town who make a big impact. The Missoula Organization of Realtors is one of the greatest gathering entities for housing and houseless data in Missoula. They give their housing report every spring, and it's all eyes on that report. It touches many of us in the housing industry, and we're constantly collaborating with them for information to try and understand trends in sales, but also trends looking into the future. One of the things we've done in some of our more recent projects is that we've featured larger bedroom sizes. 3 and 4 bedroom homes, rental homes in Missoula were hard to find in the beginning. When a family got that large, you simply went and rented a single family detached home or a mobile home, or moved out to a freestanding home available, but apartments were not always that large. So through looking at trends and what we needed to provide for in our latest projects, we're happy to say that we were able to offer these larger bedroom sizes to accommodate Missoula's larger families.
Right. Okay, naive question one. We're off script here a little bit, but it popped into my head. You talked about how developers and builders and businesses like that might want to partner with you. Why would they want to partner with you as opposed to doing it on their own?
Well, Denny, there's a variety of reasons for that. First off, we work on just a variety of collaborative relationships. We, again, wear our hearts on our sleeve. Our goal is to provide safe and stable housing for Missoulians. And that's it. That's the bottom line. So if we can, our door is always open. Should there be somebody, again, we will build everything from a duplex up to some of these larger projects you see. And we will help that person through the process. We have our own development wing that can take on some of the tasks and helping with permitting and some of the due diligence items. So we're always looking to collaborate with new partners.
Okay, can I ask naive question number 2 on you there, Sam?
Sure. Yeah.
So some folks listening to this program, Missoula Real Estate Today, the perception might be, well, are you saying that the city of Missoula is in competition with the private sector of builders and contractors? Is that a question you ever have to
No,
address?
and I'd like to clarify one thing, and that is the Housing Authority is not a part of the city. We are a pseudo-governmental institution. We're not a nonprofit. So we're not necessarily part of the city, and I'm not speaking for the city.
Excellent answer. Good.
Yes, but most importantly, again, no, we do not have a desire to necessarily compete with local developers, but augment their efforts. Right now, economists are telling us that we're missing the mark. We're providing about 300 to 400 units of housing in Missoula every year, and that number needs to be 1,200. So it's easy for economists to talk about that in a vacuum where you're not considering elevated interest rates and things that may shut down development for a few years. So in a town that needs so much at every single level of development, again, the Housing Authority is merely there to help augment these relationships, build these relationships, and help fill in where we can.
I'm glad I asked. That helps clarify things for me as well. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate, here on News Talk KGVO. My guest this week, Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. Sam, applicants have a number of resources to help them get started. What is the process like when people reach out to you for assistance?
Yes, they sure do have a variety of options here, Denny, and we are proud to serve so many specific demographics. But, the process starts when they come and book a meeting with some of our housing navigators. When they sit down with my staff, that staff will take in a short interview this person's needs, and help guide them towards the best program that fits them best.
Okay, and let's talk about some of those programs for which people might be eligible. Might as well start with subsidized housing. Help us understand that.
Yes, so subsidized housing is something that folks may commonly hear referred to as Section 8. It's a voucher type situation that allows people that are at or below 50% of the area median income to pay only 30% of their income towards housing. So when we talk about housing and we talk about rent burdened, anybody who's spending 30% more of their income on rent is considered rent burdened. So both in subsidized housing and then in our affordable rentals, the aim is to make it such that the tenant does not pay more than 30% of their rents. Currently in town now, you hear horror stories where people are paying up to 50% and beyond of their income in rent. And that just really decreases the quality of the life for individuals and makes it harder to get ahead and get out of your current situation.
On to affordable housing and how that might differ from subsidized, since that program would be intended to make housing more affordable, right?
Right. It's a little confusing. By affordable housing, what we mean are these projects that we have built and managed through partnerships, oftentimes through the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. But what it does is it allows us to set rents where folks are only paying 30% of their income, and it will never go above that.
Okay, and there are special voucher programs?
Yes, and so we have, again, many different special voucher programs. We have specific voucher programs for formerly homeless, for veterans, and foster youth aging out of foster care, but then also the housing choice vouchers, again, formerly known as Section 8, which allow people to go into the community and find a rental that they choose with a landlord that they choose. And again, the voucher pays everything above and beyond 30% of their income.
All right, and since you just briefly touched on that, I'll ask you to expand a little bit on those homeless programs Missoula Housing Authority works with people with.
Yes. No, we actually have had a big year in some of our programs. First of all, we have recently taken our Valor House project, which was transitional veterans housing.
Yes.
We've recently turned that into permanent supportive housing. So the veterans that land at Valor House now they never have to leave. They're able to stay there as long as they like with that rent protected status. And so we've done that. We have Again, permanent supportive housing right behind it at the Cornerstone Apartments. Those are 12 units of supportive housing. And then probably the one that's been in the news the most has been our 30 units of permanent supportive housing at Blue Heron Place, which is at the Trinity Project on the corner of Mullen and Broadway. And what that particular project does is it takes folks who are chronically homeless here in Missoula, and it offers them, again, stable, permanent housing with 24/7 wraparound services. So as we know, many of our neighbors have different needs, whether it be with mental health, physical health, and Blue Heron Place, again, is a permanent supportive housing project that allows these folks to move in, live in a very stable, safe environment after living outside oftentimes for so many years, and then see that their needs are met.
I'm glad you mentioned Valor House. I had not heard of them in a long time. So great job on the part of Missoula Housing Authority to help build and improve that and make it a more viable option for them. Yes. Valor House, that's great. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. And my guest is Sam Oliver, Executive Director with the Missoula Housing Authority. Also, thanks to a couple of Diane and Becky's marketing partners that help provide the show as well. Miles Link at Opportunity Bank of Montana and Rob Fleming at Synergy One Lending. Back to Sam Oliver with Missoula Housing Authority. Sam, how do you feel Missoula measures up in terms of being a strong partner for you to help the people that you are advocating for?
Well, that's a big question, and I'm going to say that Missoula measures up tremendously for somebody in my seat. Montana being a conservative state, we're often seen in Missoula as being kind of a liberal stronghold, which may or may not be fair. But the fact is, Missoula finds itself with a very wide range of nonprofit housing partners. And Missoula also finds itself with leadership traditionally that values and recognizes the importance of having affordable housing. The former mayor, John Engen, was very committed to the cause. And of course, our current mayor, Andrea Davis, was the executive director at Homeward for many years and has been a partner of mine on many projects.
She's actually been on this show when she was with Homeward
yes.
back in the day.
Yeah, she's very passionate about it. And so, in short, Missoula, from a governmental side, is a wonderful place to collaborate. They realize the necessity for our mission. Now, again, I feel Missoula is also unique, again, going back to our organizational realtors. They are folks, again, that are not just focused on their businesses and bettering themselves. They are very concerned in this community about the community fabric. They realize that the homes that they sell are affected by the housing situation and by having kids that grow up in this community be able to afford homes once they're done with their schooling and once they have good jobs. So we're lucky in that sense as well. But again, in Missoula, we have that just large, wide-ranging pool of service providers and housing specialists. And for people who do the work that we do, it's a wonderful environment.
Okay, on the other side a little bit,
yes.
where do you see the biggest needs for improvement? If you could change some things, what might those be?
You know, Denny, you could interview many people in a similar position to me in housing development now. And really the largest barrier we face right now is funding. And it sounds old and it sounds tired, but that's a fact. We know how to build housing. We know how to build it durable and resilient. We know how to build it and manage it so that it lasts a long time into the future and benefits our neighbors. The biggest challenge right now is funding. And, we're fighting massive inflation. We're fighting what's been called in Montana the most difficult housing market in the entire United States. We just blew up that much in the short amount of time since the global pandemic. So we need improvement in being able to produce housing affordably more than ever. This has created a giant challenge for us. All these combined inflationary factors. So I'm very, very curious to see. We're working very hard with our state and local government officials to not only recognize the project, but to forecast and see our way out of this. What's it going to take? What are the partnerships? Where can we find the dollars to put to this to help ease this scary situation right now?
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO. My guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. You work with many landlords, Sam. You've identified yourself, the Housing Authority, as a landlord, but you work with a lot of them. Can you talk about how your relationships with them work, and what is your pitch to sell them on the benefits of partnering with the MHA?
You know, Denny, the easy answer is we don't have to do a lot of selling and pitching. Missoula's landlords are great, and we've had a wonderful relationship with landlords throughout the years. So I think they talk amongst themselves, and I think that it's very attractive that the housing authority pays on time every month. We're a stable, steady source of income for them, and that we also work closely with our tenants should any issues arise. But we work with over 300 private landlords in Missoula, which receive over $950,000 a month and over $11.5 million annually in rents. So we have a very vibrant network of landlords that we appreciate, and we work very, very hard to please on our end.
Gotcha. Now, when you say landlords, would that also include property management companies?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Yeah.
You have a pretty big staff. Sounds like you need a pretty big staff. Talk about some of your departments, Sam, and what some of their duties involve.
Yes, Denny. So with this growth, with putting Trinity and Bellagio apartments online last year, that 400 units represents what would have been historically about a decade's worth of production for the Housing Authority. But as we look to try and figure out how we can best produce the greatest number of homes to meet that 1,200 homes a year model that economists are talking about, we've gone through some big growth. These are larger projects and they require more employees. So we are right at about 50 employees right now, and that breaks down into departments such as the voucher department, the asset management department, which houses all of the property managers, and then one of our largest departments is the maintenance department. And so we have a wonderful history and reputation for being some of the nicer projects on the block. We really pride ourselves in keeping our properties up. And I would say that one shout out and one kudos point to my maintenance team when we had our historic destructive wind event.
Oh boy.
Like I said, we own 1,200 units, and we had very few minor little incidents. So a lot of that is preventative maintenance. We know what we have. We know that we want to take care of it and preserve it. And so, yes, I have just a very diverse staff who basically takes control of everything when somebody moves into a new house, from the physical asset right down to working with the client on any issues they may have.
Now, your relationships with the people you house through the programs, does it end once they're housed, or do you stay in contact? And if you do, what would some of the reasons be to keep lines of communication open?
Well, you hit on something that's personally pretty important to me, Denny. We sit here and we talk about numbers. We talk about AMI. We talk about percentages. We talk about numbers of units. But really what matters to myself and my staff, and what keeps us doing this very difficult work every day, is that we're dealing with people. We're dealing with our neighbors. And Missoula's, I love Missoula because it's still a big little town. And you bump into people and you know people and you look people in the face. And these folks that we house are, they're the parents of children that go to school with my children. And so it doesn't end when we rent. That's very clear. Our tenants will see their property managers on a regular basis. They will see their maintenance men. They are there to make sure that the asset is just performing perfectly for them. But then we also have, and go to share community events, partner events, whether it be the code reform process going on at the city, or whether it be the grand opening of a partner's new facility. We share these things out on our social media and our community rooms. We're always encouraging community at our projects, putting on a variety of holiday meals and looking for reasons really to get people to interact with one another.
Wow, good on you. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. My guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. Your family self-sufficiency program, that sounds very interesting, Sam. Can you go into some detail on what that's about? Yes,
this is a great example, Denny, of how we interact above and beyond with our tenants here. FSS, Family Self-Sufficiency, is a free employment and asset building program for any housing authority HUD-assisted housing voucher participant. So what that does, our coordinators work with participants on participant-centered goals like employment, finances, education, addressing childcare, legal barriers, and even homeownership counseling. The FSS program creates an escrow account for the participant, which grows as increases in the rent incur from earned income. In 2023, 182 households participated in family self-sufficiency and saved an average of $7,200. Now, there's as you see, just dozens of success stories here. But I wanted to talk about one particular participant.
Yeah,
here.
Please do. I always like to.
This is great. This just paints the picture.
Any recent accomplishments, that have been especially rewarding for you. I ask everybody that. I love to hear those.
Well, so in family self-sufficiency, we had a single mom enrolled in the program 4 years ago. Her goals included obtaining suitable employment, which she did almost immediately after joining the program. And she had been since working on increasing her income and moved from part-time to full-time and has been working her way up the employer's career ladder. She's also been working on reducing her debt and repairing her credit through her enrollment in FSS. In early 2021, she became completely debt-free, but like others, inflation due to the pandemic began to eat into that savings.
Yeah.
And she found herself in a small amount of debt. But she requested $1,000 out of her savings to pay off the credit card and again became debt-free with a credit score of 720.
Wow.
So recently she talked with her FS coordinator about obtaining a loan for a vehicle. The coordinator reminded her of her savings and she was able to purchase a vehicle through her FSS savings account without a loan. So therein, she was able to learn the lesson, it'll save her hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in interest and keeps her on track for debt reduction in her personal life. Wow. So again, this program is really a nice cherry on top, and it's something we're very proud of.
That's terrific. My guest this week on Missoula Real Estate Today has been Sam Oliver, Executive Director of Missoula Housing Authority. Very, very informative. Sam, if people would like to know more, you mentioned the website, contact information, and how people who are interested can find out more about Missoula Housing Authority.
Yes, they can always visit the website. You can also visit and set up an appointment at our physical address at 1235 34th Street, which is just north of the Albertsons on 39th Street.
Right, okay, all right.
And just as a last minute item here, right. I would like to invite anybody in the community that is interested to our grand opening for the Villaggio Apartments. The Villaggio Apartments have been fully rented here as of midsummer, and it's time that we celebrate. So next Monday at 3 p.m., October 7th.
Okay, this
yes,
Monday,
October 7th, 3 p.m., we'll be having a variety of partners and people who were critical to the project speak, but then we'll also have some folks who live at Villaggio talk about what it means for them. But we will have free popcorn, cotton candy machine, and a nice family-oriented event next Monday, October 7th, 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Excellent. Keep that invite in mind, folks. Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority, this week's guest on Missoula Real Estate Today. Great job. Thank you for coming back.
Hey, thanks for having us, Denny.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck and Becky Peterson, the Beck and Beck team at Windermere Real Estate. For current listings and services Beck and Beck provide, visit movetomissoula.com. That's move, the number 2, Missoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.